Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today in this video, we will have a very simple project using just HTML and CSS. That is a portfolio page. And I'll be using only that much HTML and CSS that I have covered in my playlist. Like I have this HTML playlist where I have covered these basic topics. In HTML, we have covered till HTML tables. And for CSS, I have just started with the CSS where I have explained the basic properties of CSS and the different ways of styling, that is inline, internal and external. So I'll be using only this much HTML and CSS. So as you can see, we have our portfolio page where I have these three navigational links like about, skills and contact. And if I click to about, I will get redirected to about, and same for skills and contact. You see, I have about, like I have used a simple image here and a little bit of description for that. Then for skills also, like skills HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And then for contact also, simple footer. And for the experience part, I've used the tables. So let's start with our video. So first, I'll be creating the structure for our portfolio page. Then I will style it. So let's start. So first, you need to create file that is index.html. Then simply create styles.css as we will have only HTML and CSS. Then to have our boiler code, just write HTML5 and select this. So here we have boiler code. Then simply for the title, let's give it as portfolio page. Then simply have a link to the style sheet, that is CSS. So link rel is equal to style sheet and href would be your style.css. Then let us add our favicon, that is simply link rel is equal to icon. Then href would be simply the image that I have. So I already have these images. I will provide the link for this. Then I'll be using this emoji image for our favicon. So see. Then let's quickly create the structure for this. So we will have a header. To have our header, then simply h1, which would be my portfolio page, and then simply a p tag where I'll be using a del tag. Then let's create our nav bar. So nav, then simply our anchor tags. So initially I'll be having only hash. So initially let's keep this as blank. Later on we will provide the address of our containers that I will show you. So we will have our about. So we will have our about me. Then skills. Then contact. So we have our nav links like about me, skills and contact. Then we will have our sections. Then we will have our sections that will be our about section, then skill section, and at last we will create a footer for our contact. So section for about, simply a section tag. As these tags we have already covered in our website layout video of HTML. So section would be simply we will have one image. So and I am providing the relative paths for the image as I already have these images. So here we will add this image, let's say coder, and I will give this ID as about image simply, and here also let's give it ID as about. Then we will have a heading for this, like about me, then simply a horizontal line using this HR tag. To see, we got our image and a horizontal line as well. Then I'm using a P tag for a short description. So I already have the description. So simply short description for this. And let's add inline styling for now. Later on, we will add our external CSS. So let's say we want to have this text as bold with some other color, like a passionate coder. So we will use inline CSS for this. And to use inline CSS, we need to have a style attribute and we need to use inline elements as well. That is a span. We will use a span element as this is an inline element used for inline styling. So a style attribute would be simply, as we want to make the text bold, right? So font weight would be simply bold and we want to change the color. So color would be, let's say I have this color code and simply inside this span element, we need to put this. That is a passionate coder. So see, this line became bold with different color. So let's say similarly, we need to have some more inline styling here. Let's say we want to make this part, that is a lifelong learner, to italic. So again the same thing, span element with style attribute would be simply font style to italic. And again, we need to put this part inside the span element. So see, this part became italic. Then let's say we want to have more customizations like this. Then again, let's say this part I want different color. So again the same thing, span tag with style attribute. Again, color would be simply the same color code and simply this part inside our span element. And let's say like this part, again I want italic, or maybe let's say we want to underline this time. So again, span with style attribute would be, let's say font style, again italic and underline. So what we can do, first simply this part inside this span element with a U tag. So see, this part also we have different color and here we have italic as well as we got underline, right? So this way we can use inline styling and have some customizations. So let's move on to our next sections. So this time we will have our skill section. So simply, and again a section tag. So let's give ID as skills and let's have a heading for this as well. Simply skills. So I'll be using an ordered list as I want to make sure the use of the things that I've already covered. So one li for HTML, one for CSS, and one for JavaScript. And I can simply have a line break after each li. And to add the images, simply image tag with src would be again the images that we have. So HTML, then for CSS, the CSS image, then again for JavaScript, this JavaScript image. So we have our skills container and I have used ULLI, a image, and again a line break in between. So let's check. So with the help of CSS, we need to make sure these images are of same size. So let's add a short description for this as well. So again, an inline element, that is span, a description for HTML. We will do the same thing for CSS and JavaScript. So here we have a short description for each. Then let us have our experience, which we will create using tables. So simply h2 for our heading, that is experience, and we want to have this at the center. So simply again inline CSS with the help of style attribute. So this time text align to center. So we have our heading at the center. Then simply we will use tables. So a table tag, then a table row for the first row, then simply table head. So the table head would be, let's say, company. Then one more table head as our role in that company. Then again table head as years of our experience. In our second row, this time we will have table data. Let's say we have a company as ABC corporation or maybe something like this. And again table data as, let's say, intern, and again table data for our years. So let's say 4, let's say 3. Then our third row, then again table data. Let's say we have this time XYZ Limited, name of the company. Then our second data for our role. So this time let's say engineer. Then our third data for years. So let's say this time 5. So let's check. So I think I have missed something. So yes, instead of table, I have wrote tables. So it would be table, not tables. So see, we have our table created, but we need some styling to make it look like a table. Then we will have one more section, that would be our footer, not section. So simply ID as contact and simply a p tag. So contact. So this is my channel name. So I'm writing this only. So we have our footer also. As you can see, we have the footer. So we have created the structure for our portfolio page. So now let's move on to our styling part. So simply pick the body and simply first give padding and margin as 0 to make sure that our web page does not leave extra spaces there. So always set this padding and margin to 0. And what we can do, let's say we want to increase the font size of all the elements in our web page. So simply 20 pixels. So see, all our text got increased in size. And simply if we want to change the font style of all the text, then simply here only font family as, let's say, cursive. So see, all of the text got converted to cursive. So next we need to pick the header and let's give it a background color as, I already have the color code for this. Let's say 002626 and simply the color as white. So see, The background got changed and the color of the text white. But here we have extra spaces. We need to have some padding. So let's say padding as 10 pixels. So see, the extra space is being removed. And what we can do, we need to center this text, right? So again, text align would be simply center. So we have our header ready. Now let's style this, our nav links. So simply our nav, as we are directly picking the nav bar with its name, like with its element name, that is nav. Then again, background color as. So for this also I have the color code, that is 0 to 8 B8B. Then again color as white. And here also we will want padding. Then again padding 10 pixels. So if I give padding 10 pixel, as here we gave in the header, so it will leave 10 pixel in all the four sides, like top, bottom, left and right. So here also the same thing. So see, now we want this to be at the center as well. So again, text align as center. And we want to remove this. Now these are looking like hyperlinks, right? With blue color and underline. So to remove this, we need to pick nav and the anchor tag. Simply, we will use this property text decoration and we will set this to none. Not the horror movie none, right? NONE none. And the color as white. And let's have some margin also. So when I set this to 0, it means top and bottom would be 0 and left and right would be 10. Then simply, so as we have our nav link ready, so at last we will add the address of our containers. So it will get redirected. So now let's style our about me, about section. So simply we will pick this about image with the ID name. So a hash and the ID name. So let's give the width as 300 pixels and height as 250 pixels. So now let's style our section. So I will pick the section directly by the element name. So why I am doing this? As we have these sections, I want to style them at once only, as I want the same style. If I wanted a different style, then I could have given that ID as I already have. I could have picked that with this ID name with a different styling and this section with its ID name and again a different styling. But I want the same styling. So I'm picking this with the element name only. That is the section. Simply a margin 20 pixel. To 20 pixel, I gave only one value. Then it means it will leave 20 pixel on all the four sides, like top, bottom, left and right. Then again a padding as 10 pixels. Then simply I will give a border that is 3 pixel solid with a color as 00 FFF. So here we have a border. Then a background color as 00 1F 1F. So I already have this color code and you don't need to remember this. So you can style them according to your preference also. So the color would be simply white. So see, all of the skill section got same color as I styled them at once only. So we have text color as white and with the same background color for our about section and skill section. Now let's have these three images of the same size, like HTML image CSS and JavaScript image. So let's give them ideas like HTML image for the HTML image, and the same thing with these two images also, like CSS image and JavaScript image. So this time, why I gave different IDs, as I already have one image in my web page, that is the about image. As I wanted a different dimension for this about image and different dimensions for these three images, so I picked them with the help of their ID, not simply by the element. So simply HTML image, as I want the three images to be of same size, so what we can do, HTML image comma CSS image, then simply JavaScript image, and simply a width as, let's say, 50 pixel, or let's say 100, and height also 100 pixels. So see, all of the three images are of the same size now. So now let's style our table. So simply the table tag, let's give this a width as 95%. Then we need to pick our table tag with table head and our table data. So simply table, table head and table data. Then we need to give a border that is 3 pixels solid with a color code that I already have this. So you will see that now the table will look like a table. So see, now we have the table created, and let's say instead of this double lines, we want only single line. So we can use one more property, that is border collapse. Set this to collapse only. So it will set the border to one single line only. So see, then again we can give some padding to have some spaces here in the table data. So simply a table data with the padding as, let's say, 10 pixels. So see, we got some spaces here, right? And now, as you can see, we have our table at the leftmost only. So how to center this table? So simply the table tag, we can give a margin as 10 pixel from top and bottom from its parent container, that would be from this experience heading. So it will leave 10 pixel from top and 10 pixel here. And simply left and right would be auto. It means if I set this to auto, it will be horizontally centered with respect to its parent container. So see, this table got centered with respect to its parent container, and I think this section that we had here, like our skill section, it will close here before the start of this experience. It will not cover the table part. So simply see, before I put it this experience part, that is the table part, inside the container of this skills. So it would not be inside that container. So simply the section will close after this skill sets. Then let's create our footer, that is this. So simply a footer with a background color as for this also I have the code. So it would be simply this code, and here also the color would be white. And here also we will give padding and margin. So padding would be again 10 pixels. And let's say margin. So we will have only margin top here. It would be let's say 20 pixel. Then here we will see a gap of 20 pixels. So see, and we also want this text to be at the center. Then again, text align to center. So see, we have our footer ready as well. So we have created our simple web page, that is a portfolio page. Now let's add our navigational links. Let's provide them the actual links. So I already have a video for this, like how to create navigational links. If you want, you can watch that video, or I will give you a short brief here only. So to create the link that will get redirected you to some other section, simply in your navbar, as you have the anchor tag with href, so simply a hash and the name of the section that you want to redirect. Let's say if I click this about, then I need to go to this about section. So simply href and a hash with its id name, simply about. So now let's check to see we are getting redirected to the about part or the about section, and the same thing for our skills. Like the nav link for our skill, we want to go to the skills container, right? So here we have our skills container, simply the id name of the skills section, and simply in the nav link href hash with the id name, and the same thing for our contact. As we have the id name of our footer, contact, so here in the href hash and contact. So now let's check. So when I'm clicking this about, I'm getting redirected to about. Then for the skills, to the skill section, and for the contact, I'm getting redirected to the footer part. That's what we wanted, right? Although this web page would have been created in a much better way using the advanced CSS properties, but I just wanted to have a quick revision of the lectures that I have covered, like the HTML part and the CSS part that I explained. And the best way to have the revision is just practice, as these things you cannot learn, and you don't need to learn even. The more you will practice, the more your command will be there in these things. So yes, that's it for this video. Hope you understood this in a much better way. So see you all in the next one. Till then, take care.